Alright, my name is Couri Hay, and this is the second in a series of interviews with New York's most exciting people, places, and things. Tonight, Anton Perich and I are taking you inside another New York landmark to meet another New York legend. I'm on the stage at the Fillmore East talking to Todd Rundgren, musician, composer, arranger, the rock star's rock star. Todd, I want you to...
Let's lay it on thick. Yeah.
Oh, I can't lay it on too thick for you because you deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, talent like yours can't go, unrecognized by the masses.
That's what they say, isn't it?
Well, how do you feel about that? Playing in front of millions of people and being idolized by the 14-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, and I guess even the 50-year-olds are pretty into Todd Rundgren.
The 50-year-olds?
I think everybody's in here.
I don't know. I guess that's a current phenomenon that I'm not even aware of, if that's true. It's just, it doesn't faze me, I guess. It doesn't affect me because it seems to me that I'm still stuck doing the same things that I had to do years ago when nobody heard of me. My albums get delayed because they're too far out, and stuff like that. People are getting into it now, but they're getting into what I did 2 years ago and stuff like that, 3 years ago.
Yeah, well, I know that a couple of your hit singles, there are hits in England, Hello, It's Me, and Is There Light, are just being released here.
I Saw the Light. Well, I Saw the Light was here, and then it was just released in England a little while ago, and that was, I don't know what happened to that. But Hello, It's Me was released, and it's number 40 with a bullet this week. And
yeah, well, let's not talk about those number 40 things. I mean, it wasn't too long that You're Gonna Get Me a Woman was my favorite sound, and just about everybody else's in the country.
They didn't play that much in New York, though. It got played a lot in L.A. It just kind of got the old peripheral treatment in New York. That's the one they just released in England. They released that about last week or something like that, and I told them before they released it that under no circumstances would I perform it. So I probably won't. I don't know if it'll be a hit or not, but that's not a song I like to perform, actually.
Well, I just heard you and your group perform Just One Victory, and I think that's going to be one victory for you. That's a great tune.
Yeah, I thought it would be a single at one point, but that was about the time that everybody started getting into Hello, It's Me, which was from the album before. So maybe after everybody gets Hello, It's Me out of their system, they'll get into Just One Victory, which is from the album after that, which is only a year old now. And now I have another album which hasn't come out yet.
That's The Wizard?
No, the one that's come out is the Wizard album. A Wizard, a True Star, available at your record retailer.
Uh-huh.
But,
get it.
Get it on. But the one that I just finished was supposed to be released at the end of October, and it's just everything's so backed up now that it probably won't be out till next year.
Are you aware of all those millions of people that buy your records and come to your concerts? Are you really aware of that international stardom? I mean, London, New York, San Francisco,
Rome, Paris, Buenos Aires. Not really. I get recognized in the subway a lot more lately. I still ride the subway. I can't get into... It's just the traffic on the surface has gotten so bad that I can't stand to wait around in a cab or a limousine or my Jag or my
or your
Citroen Maserati or...
What happened to that plane? When I Get My Plane, wasn't that
yes, that plane. No, closest I ever got to that was a hang glider. But I don't have a car or anything. I just... When I have to get around the city, I just like to get around the fastest way possible.
Do you ever get attacked? Do they come and take off your clothes? And
No, still most people don't know who I am. Very, very wary about what I look like and stuff like that.
Well, what's wrong with? Well, listen. What's wrong with just being being an incredibly talented musician and an arranger and composer and writer, why do you seek that? Why do you want them all to know what you look like? And
Why?
Why?
I never said I did. It just happens as a natural consequence. You have to, if you want your own records to sell, you have to go out on the road and do ridiculous things, and get a lot of attention and beat girls with dead fish and things like that.
Hey, Anton, we ought to film that.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Wow. Ooh. You once said you wanted to be a professional weirdo. Do you?
I don't know if I ever said I wanted to be anything. I just said that sometimes it's just the direction that I'm taking. It's not what you are. It's just what you do. What people can call you because of what you do. It's people say, oh, with that stream of hyperbole, and producer, arranger, and stuff like that. Well, those are just titles that go after the fact, after you've done something, and they say, well, he did such and such on this record, so he must be producer or engineer, things like that. I didn't get into it to be any one thing or anything in particular. I just did it because it was an accident, because I just fell into it, and I kept doing it, and just got interested in different aspects of it and picked them up. But it's all under a whole larger category.
Well, you really, I think, could be called the Renaissance man of rock and roll. I mean, it's quite incredible, and I know it's aroused a lot of jealousy and envy in the rock world.
Has it?
Oh, they talk about it.
I don't know about it myself. I don't get that involved in it. As much as people think because of whatever they've read or something or what they've heard that I hang out a lot, I don't really. I just get out every once in a while. For some reason, something happens when I'm out.
Well, I see you at all the biggest parties. Sure.
Yeah, but they only happen like once every month or 2 or 3 weeks or something.
And you're always
like that.
wearing some incredible clothes. Do you feel you're expressing yourself with your clothes?
Probably. It's if you're gonna be involved in life to that extent, you have to be involved in all aspects of it. I don't take clothes, to me, aren't more important than anything else, but they're just an aspect of a graceful lifestyle.
Ah, living well is the best revenge.
The best revenge? Yeah, maybe that's it.
Sure.
I remember when I first started playing guitar, I was about 14 or 15, and then to have long hair was just have it over your ears, and everybody would kick you around, be real nasty to you. And you always figure, my revenge, how am I going to get my revenge? I know how I'll get my revenge. I'll make them read about me all the time.
Ah, well, they do read about you because you're probably one of the most written about rock stars. More interviews, Interview Magazine, this magazine, that magazine. I can't pick up a magazine that don't read about you, my God.
That's more current, I think, than anything else. It just happens. It's like this infectious thing of people that are in the print business, the newsprint business. If they see your name enough times in various things, you just pick it up. You just have to find an excuse to print the name, whether I did anything or not. They have to think up something to print.
I think it's more than that, because I think you and your group are an idea that's really come now. I know this is a new group, taking out a new group on tour, and I think this is no accident. Neither do I think that just one victory is an accident either. I think you're on your way to more success, greater success.
Well, I hope so. It's I don't qualify what success is, in terms I've been successful, even though not in terms of public appeal or what may be apparent to people. I've just been successful in the things that I want to do for a while, just being able to learn things and to meet certain people and things like that, be involved in certain projects.
What about failure? Do you ever think about failure?
Failure? It's just failure is a negative aspect of a whole situation, if you can look at it. Failure is a negative aspect of something that can be positive, because to me a failure is a learning experience in a certain aspect, and it doesn't help me to look at it as a failure. It only helps to look at it from whatever aspect can bring you some kind of profit out of the situation. Learn something or avoid working out a whole lot of weird karma. You know, when I went out on the road last time, I was supposed to go out for several months and spend a whole lot of money planning to go out for several months and recoup, and only went out for 2 weeks. And in fiscal terms and in certain terms, it may have been considered a failure, but to me, it just got me through a whole phase of the business without having to go out and do it in front of everybody. You know, I did it in 2 weeks in front of a limited number of people and got it all out of my system. And to me, it was successful in that aspect. And I don't really pay attention to the fact that it was only out for 2 weeks. You know?
I understand you've got a whole visual, theatrical thing coming out for people that are going to see this tour.
Well, we're hoping to. It looks like that this initial 5 weeks is going to be pretty basic. The music will be different, but to carry a lot of visuals and to operate them correctly involves so much hassle nowadays that you need a pre-commitment in terms of how much money you're going to make in a particular place, or you know, what kind of show you're going to have, because we were thinking of having visuals and projection and a lot of stuff, but you run into problems with unions, things like that. And
I think it's great, all this tour stuff, going out and playing all these crazy places, but I live in New York.
Oh, yeah.
When are you going to come play here? I mean...
Well, I played New York I played New York in September, and when I played at the at Central Park at the Woolman Rink, but we probably won't be here till about January or February when we go out again, but by that time we should have the whole visual trip together. We're confining this tour mostly to Middle America, and places where they don't get a whole lot of that stuff anyway. So.
Where they buy records.
Yeah, where they buy the records, where they support these people. When you come to New York, everybody gets in free, but when you go to Middle America, nobody gets in free or something. I don't know.
Well, Middle America should play for New York's extravagances.
Right, well, it ain't fair, but that's life, you know?
What kind of name is Rundgren?
Swedish.
Swedish, What's your middle name?
Harry.
Harry.
Klodish.
Woo! That's great. But you were born in America?
Yeah.
Philadelphia?
Philadelphia. Land of the cream cheese and the tuna fish hoagie.
You mean underneath all those psychedelic colors, your hair's really blonde?
It's brown. No, it's just that. It's your proverbial mousy brown.
Well, I wouldn't call, green, yellow, red.
Mousy green and mousy red.
Oh, it's fantastic. I like it. In fact, you know, it's a real rainbow.
A veritable rainbow.
You once said that if David Bowie was into decadence, he should come sit in your doorstep. You want to explain that?
Well, I moved across town since then, but I used to live on the Lower East Side, you know, and where all the junkies and hookers and all those weird people that are in that panorama of song, they just live on the front step. You know, you'd have to climb over bodies to get into the house at night and things like that, and there would always be someone in the corner waiting to get you alone and rob you or rape you or just, you know, be weird with you.
Why'd you move?
Well, you know, it was a little too exciting for me, I guess. I'd been looking to move for a while. I think probably the main reason why is because the floor in the building was starting to sag in, and so we had to move out before it collapsed. I needed a place where I could put a waterbed.
Oh.
So we moved over to the west side and took up so-called residence there. Well, much to the chagrin of all the neighbors, you know, who don't go for our habits much.
Do you play at home at all?
The only thing I play at home is piano. I like to make too much noise when I play the guitar.
I think it's fantastic opening up the whole Fillmore to practice. What does it feel like playing back here?
Well, if you don't pay close attention to the Fillmore, it's cool. The place is really falling apart, but it's real interesting. I never got to play the Fillmore when it was open, so we figured, oh, the Fillmore, we get to play the Fillmore now, even though there's no people in it. But isn't it romantic? It must still have some vestige of some of those rock and roll thought forms floating around.
Well, I think for me, it holds a lot of fabulous memories, and it's good to see you here and coming out of here, going on out to your tour. So tell me, who is or what was this Naz, and Naz 3? Maybe I missed that. I don't understand. What was that? Where did that name come from?
I don't know. I guess it came from Lord Buckley. We used to make up, when the Naz first came out, nobody had any idea what Naz was. We used to just make up definitions for it every time someone would ask us, you know, but it supposedly was a rap from Lord Buckley's, one of his comedy routines, and the Naz was supposed to be the Nazarene.
There it is. Biblical.
Yes.
Biblical.
In the biblical sense, yes.
Well, what kind of messages you pounding out with your lyrics?
What am I pounding out? Well, now I'm just kind of pounding out, it's getting weird. To me, it's just the evolution of my own consciousness, you know. I used to think that there was a conscious message that I could put across, but this, aside from whatever it was that I was thinking, or something that I could conjure up, some cause, but one cause is as good as another cause. The only thing I can do nowadays is just reflect what happens in my head, you know, changes I go through, or different planes of consciousness I settle on.
Well, after listening to, you know, you guys practice, no one can certainly accuse you of just playing pretty tunes. It's come a long way from that.
Yeah, well, we're getting into a little bit of an experimental type music. Right now we've just been learning straight material, but our approach to playing live is going to be amended slightly. There'll be a lot of improvisation, which I never got to do much before. I never got to play guitar much before either, and a lot of people wondered about that. So
you're a great guitarist.
Oh, thank you. I'm just we broke the show into two parts now, so I can do all those little ditties and everything, and everyone will be happy about that, and then I can freak out afterwards. You know.
I understand that used to be Eric Clapton's guitar?
This one here, yeah.
Do you guys pass around your instruments, or is this a hand-me-down from some rock star thrift shop?
This I got from Jackie Lomax, and he got it from George Harrison. George Harrison got it from Eric Clapton, I think. This one was in there's a picture in a French magazine, French pop magazine, of classic guitars, and there's a picture of this one here.
It's fantastic. Let's just
full color. You can hang it up on your wall and everything. It's gone through a couple changes because the end broke off here, so they put in a new one.
The back is.
In fact, if you look at the back is cool too. If you look on the Playboy pop poll like last year or something, when Eric Clapton was the guitarist in the Playboy pop poll, they've got the original end of this guitar, which I have at home, like, sticking up, you know, drawn by a cartoonist.
Is this some sort of, you know, tradition passing around guitars? I mean, do they pass around drums and?
Some of them. I don't think there's that many guitars that can last that long. This guitar is like I said, was falling apart when I got it. Nobody could hardly play it, and I had to go through a whole trip and have it fixed and everything. And as far as I can recall, there aren't a whole lot of guitars that distinctive that get passed around. Most of them get destroyed by the original owner, you know, like Pete Townsend or Jimi Hendrix. You know, once they got tired of a guitar, they just mangle it. You know, so.
Do you think you've become a parody of yourself? I mean, i.e., dressing louder, behaving louder. I mean, I think I heard you say all this somewhere.
Oh well, that was my quote in Time magazine. Yeah.
Exactly.
That was. They just asked me to explain something. It doesn't necessarily. It was just kind of the state of affairs at the time when everybody was getting into what was at the time referred to as theatrical rock. Jethro Tull and David and Alice and all the, you know, all the names, you know, lumped together.
Around. I mean,
not too often. I go out with Alice every once in a while, but either he's doing something or I'm doing something most of the time, so we don't see each other that often. There's not too many other people in the exoteric end of the business that I associate with. There's a few people that probably general public doesn't know about that are still, to me, important in the music business, or the music scene. The business part of it doesn't really interest me, but...
Would you say that most of your friends were coming from the music scene, or...?
Not really. I would say that the very few of them have hold a regular job, but most of them are artistically motivated in one way or another. It doesn't. It's not universal, but even if they're doing a straight gig, if they approach it in a certain way, I kind of ignore the gig and pay more attention to the way that they approach it, and so it's not really a thing that I can categorize like that. I can say probably that I don't really associate that much, although I do occasionally with people in the business. So somebody comes into town, but otherwise very few people. Rick Derringer I see every once in a while, but to me he's more on the esoteric side, because most people, if they know his name at all, only know him as producer of Johnny Winter and Edgar Winter.
Well, you've been quite a producer yourself. The Dolls, I guess, and
yeah.
Name a few of those other groups for me. I haven't got my notes all straight.
Grand Funk Railroad, and I haven't done too many groups lately. I haven't done too much of anything producing-wise lately.
Well, how do you feel producing and arranging? You know, you've produced and arranged other people's hits. I mean, don't you want to get that all under your own name?
Well, the thing is, when somebody else wants a hit, I'll do it that way for them. I don't think about that when I'm doing my own records. You know, whether they are potentially hits or not, I don't know, and I don't really pay attention when I'm doing it. I'm just those records I do for other reasons than the records that I produce for people. Records I produce for people, I do it because I got to make a living off it. And since I do that and make a living off it, I don't have to make a living off my own records, so I can do anything I want on those. And maybe that's why they're not big hits, because I don't do things to make them hits. I just do them for whatever weird reason.
Do you bleach your eyes?
What?
Your eyes are changing colors every time your hair and your eyes is...
No, I haven't. I did my eyebrows a while ago because that was when my hair... I didn't have any roots. When hair was all colored, and it looked weird to have plain brown eyebrows.
Do you do your hair yourself?
Yeah. My own self.
Well, I mean, is there any sort of... I mean, like you just decide, like, I'm going to do my hair today and just run into the bathroom and...
Well, I didn't strip it myself. The last time I went to have it dyed at a salon that did such a terrible job that all the colors washed out. So rather than go back to a hairdresser to have him put the dye in, I just figured out how to do it myself. So I haven't stripped it since, and I probably won't strip it again. It's just too much, you know, just go bald eventually. It's a passing fancy. So I'm probably just going to let it grow out now. You know, I'll keep the colors, what part there is to be colored, I'll keep it colored, but when it gets down, I'm thinking about letting it get down to here and then cutting it all short except for a big ponytail coming down one side and put little electric lights in it.
Hey,
jewels
wow,
and
I
things.
like that. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Why are you going to wait? I think you ought to do that right away.
I've been thinking about it, but I don't know, maybe when my hair gets a little longer.
Politically, I guess this is a pretty rowdy time, and I guess I can't help but, you know, talk a little politics.
Oh, yeah.
So, what do you think now? It's getting pretty rowdy, what with Nixon firing everybody in justice and Congress going crazy, and cries of impeachment are rising out of the Congress and really across the nation, representing the rock world. How do you feel about that?
As representing the rock world? Well, I don't know as representing the rock world. I don't know if... I guess probably most of the rock world feels as I do, I guess it's supposed to be important, you know, and you're supposed to get concerned about it, but who can really get upset about people operating under such a schmucky set of rules? You know, it's I guess I can get upset and I can say, oh, he's so dishonest, but the thing is, for so long the setup of the government has been, you know, to ignore us, you know, for them to get into their own little trip, that to me it's almost a part of their own trip. I certainly didn't vote for him, put him in office, so I don't feel betrayed. You know, I knew he was a schmuck before he got elected, so...
Which time?
It's no great revelation to me, you know. I said, you know, either he'll be impeached or he won't live, you know, through being president, and I'd say that's about where it's at now.
Do you put that, don't live, is that a heart attack or assassination?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's only figurative, but it could be anything, you know. I just don't think he'll come out of it a whole human being, you know.
Was he ever a whole human being?
Well, at least he could put up the pretense of being a whole human being. But I think at that point, you know, it's going to be back to the checkers, you know, my dog Checkers, and don't kick me around, stuff like that. You know, it'll be back to go again. So.
Well, would you like to be the vice presidential nominee?
There was a time when I thought I wanted to be president just to see what you could do in that position, working around politics, you know, like avoiding politics as much as possible. But since then, I just think that probably there's much heavier things that you can be to affect changes than being president. You know, like even if you're president, even if he's a good president, and he has a good idea, something he wants to change, he's got to go through that whole fucking trip. You know, going through Congress and getting people motivated and all this other thing. Which whenever you're doing it on a legislative level, it's just too weird. You know, if you can manage it charismatically or spiritually or some other way, it's just a lot quicker and sticks a lot better, I think.
Well, what do you think's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
What's going to happen?
I don't know. It could be anything. You know, I think people are getting real hysterical lately. You know, the bit with the flying saucers and everything. And
Maxine Cheshire told me he was out on Route 100 the other day, driving back and forth. He lost his guards, and he was just tearing up and down the road with General Haig doing God knows what. I think he might be the first president to flip in office.
President to flip in office. Well, I don't know. They probably flipped before, and you just never knew about it. You know, he may have flipped already. They're keeping it a well-guarded secret.
I was at a Sunday prayer meeting once at the White House, and I thought if I put a little mescaline in a punch, it might help him out. But I don't know. I didn't want to risk it.
Yeah. You didn't want to risk it?
Well, you know, I figured that if I did that, God only knows, it might look what they did to Martha Mitchell. I mean, you know, they broke up her life pretty well.
Oh, yeah. Poor Martha.
I liked Martha. She was great.
She was all right, I guess. I guess, you know, when you get in a situation where everybody is one thing, if you can somehow represent another thing, it's cool. You know, I didn't particularly see her as being any cooler than anybody else. She was just different. You know, she had her own trip that she was on, but there wasn't a whole lot of integrity in her thing either. I mean, it was just depended on whether they were being nice to her husband or not. You know, whether she was nice to them. You know.
Well, I think that pretty much we can say that politics is the best TV show in town, and I'm hoping that whatever they do, they put it on the air.
Yeah, it can get interesting. It can get boring too. I mean, now it's reached a very boring phase because nobody's done anything positive. It looked like it would be something positive when they started the whole Watergate trip, but now it's real sort of doesn't seem to be motivated. Maybe this new turn of events will. Somehow,
I think they've got a new chance. I think they can.
What they had to do is they had to tape it and then edit it down a little to, you know, like it was legitimate TV series or something they had to show. You know.
Well, I think it is a legitimate TV series.
Yeah, but they got to consider the attention span of the average viewer. You know, I can't sit through like the NET recap of the whole thing, which has no commercials and none of the breaks that they take for votes and things like that. Even that gets real dull. Like when some guy gets up there and reads his statement, you know, and all he's doing is pouting for the cameras and things. Just.
You gonna buy Sam Irwin's album?
Sam Irwin's album?
Sure.
Can't pick an album. Does he have an album coming out?
He's got an album coming out of. I think he's gonna intone the Star Spangled Banner or whatever it is, and say some sayings and
a few biblical stories.
It would probably be a big hit.
Yeah, maybe. Not in my house, I don't think.
Well, what about you know, when you're writing in your music, do you ever think of, you know, writing down on Nixon or impeach Nixon, or, you know, do you ever think of putting, you know, all that sort of political things into your music?
I don't know. I guess the reason why I don't get politically motivated is I look at everything in too great a historical perspective. You know, even 8 years of Nixon in the long run in my life isn't going to affect me a whole lot. You know, it hasn't affected me so far. Even to the point that I couldn't remember how long he'd been in office. You know, it was the Last thing I remember was Johnson, you know, and then there was Nixon came in there somewhere, but I don't remember how many years ago it was, or if it was last week or last month. I just know that there's this whole thing going on around them. There's nothing that I can do at this point to prevent the bomb from going off if they're all going to flip out and start World War III. So I might as well just live my life up until the point that an opportunity presents itself to do something. You know, either to drop a hand grenade in his motorcade or vote him out of office. You know, it's just right now I'm not going to make a great effort on Richard Nixon's behalf.
I think Jackie said that the late President John Kennedy liked to say that the Greek word for idiot meant one who took no interest in the affairs of state. Would you go along with that? Jackie's.
Yeah, I understand that.
Right.
I was pondering on it a second.
Well, you were sort of telling me, you know, you.
I guess the point is if you want to get into that stuff, there are just endless quotes for all occasions. You can get big thick books of them, and you can call anybody anything you want because there's always somebody who made a clever quote about it. You know, it's if John F. Kennedy was into politics and thought that politics was the way to make the world a better place, then that's fine for him. But I don't think I'm an idiot because I don't necessarily believe that politics that you can that you can legislate a better way of life for people, you know, or a greater state of mind or more peace of mind for people. There's just no way to legislate it. There's no form of government anywhere that has made that possible, you know.
Do you think you can do it with music?
Well, you can't do it only with music. You can't. Music is an expression along certain technical lines of a basic motivation, you know, and that people have to recognize the basic motivation. You know, music would have done it already if it could be done through music. Right now, most of us in music are just going over the previous possibilities again, you know, to see if we missed anything, to see if we can come up with something new or cause a greater effect. But I don't think necessarily paying attention to one technique or one certain art is going to change things. It's just the attitude, the motivation that the creative motivation that's behind art in general has got to be brought to a greater level.
Do you think that drugs are necessary to cope with day-to-day living?
I don't think they're necessary to cope. I think I know that certain points in my life I need a pretty heavy kick in the ass that I can't normally get available through, you know, regular activities and things like that. And being a Western man, I don't have the time that Eastern person does to develop things. You know, so sometimes if I need a kick in the ass.
Well, I want to ask you to smoke grass every day.
Yeah. Oh, something out of.
All right. Right?
Live for the camera.
Well, of course. Without the kick, get off the dope kick and go on to. I guess what is there? Sex and dope. So what's
Sex and dope. What's left?
What's your favorite kind of sex?
My favorite kind of sex?
Sure.
Favorite kind of sex.
Oh boy, what a choice.
Kind of sex. I'm still trying to figure out what you mean. Tantric? I don't know. What is it? Turkish.
No. Well, I don't know. How do you feel about sex? Do you feel you have to have sex every day, or?
I don't think about it, actually. Somebody else thinks about that, but I don't think about it.
I guess we'll get into that a little
I
later.
let other people worry about that.
Oh.
As long as I let somebody else worry about it, I get taken care of somehow.
Well, you know, when you're out on all those tours, those girls just kind of swarm all over you, and
yeah, well, they worry about it. I don't worry about it.
Oh, you just lay back and enjoy it, huh? That sounds pretty good.
That's about it.
Okay. Well, listen, I think it would be fun to hear a little bit of Just One Victory if you could.
Oh, come on.
Huh?
Just me and my guitar?
Just you and your guitar.
Don't you want me to play the blues, man?
Well, you play whatever you want to play.
You just want to hear some...
We just want to hear a little of that talent.
This is instrumental, by the way.
Oh, sing a little bit.
You got to tune it first. This is...
I mean, it's not all instant?
Well, I'm sure most people are probably familiar with this process by now. After going to most rock and roll concerts and hearing it done at top volume. Okay.
I refuse to harmonize.
You refuse to harmonize? I refuse to let you.
Smart.
Yeah. Let me see if I can remember this. Mind if I turn my amp up? I need it louder to sing with. I don't want to distort you. We've been waiting so long. We've been waiting so long. We've been waiting for the sun to rise and shine, shining still, to give us the will. Can you hear me? The sound of my voice. I am here to tell you I have made my choice. I've been listening to what's been going down. There's just too much talk and gossip going around. You may think that I'm a fool, but I know the answer. Words become a tool. Anyone can use them. Take the golden rule as the best example eyes that have seen will know what I mean. The time has come to take the bull by the horns. We've been so downhearted, we've been so forlorn. We get weak and we want to give in, but we still need each other if we want to win. If you don't know what to do about a world of trouble, you can pull it through if you need to, and if you believe it's true, it will surely happen, shining still, to give us the will. That's enough.
Where'd you learn to sing?
I taught myself.
Did you teach yourself everything? I mean, how to play? You know, I know you played a lot of instruments. Do you
Yeah,
teach yourself
probably.
everything?
Yeah, for certain things, like musically, it's very hard to get into the discipline of taking lessons for, because they usually show you things that you don't want to know, you know, or that you're not interested in. As a basis to start, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you end up, but they give you like scales and exercise, and you don't want to play scales, you want to play Sunshine of Your Love or something like that, you know. So the best way to learn it is just get it by ear. It's quicker.
What did you one day just sort of wake up and say, I want to be a rock star? And
I guess that's it. I just woke up and my closet was full of glittery clothes and I could play the guitar and sing, and I just figured, well, here I am, you know. Guess I'm in the rock and roll business. At a certain point, I thought it was, I thought it was being a rock and roll star was something, but the thing is that the important part is becoming and not being, because you don't stop at being a rock and roll star. It's such a vague thing. And the benefits of it are so intangible that they're intangible in one way. A lot of people see it as a material accomplishment to become successful in the rock and roll business, to have gold records and money and live a certain way, that spending a lot of money and stuff like that. You know, you want it. But the point is, when you're in that position and you have a lot of people watching you do it, because you can't do it without them watching you do it. You don't become famous and then have people say, okay, go off and spend the money we gave you, and come back and play, and we'll give you some more. They want to know what kind of a life you're living, and so it becomes a whole different thing. You start to represent something more than just an individual taking advantage of all this money and material stuff, and fame and everything. It's just it makes, I don't know if most people get affected that way. It just makes me think a lot, it makes me change. I don't recognize the status of rock and roll star, the position of rock and roll star any longer. You know, that's just kind of a level of operations for me, you know. But there are other things that I'm interested in, sometimes more so than rock and roll or music in general.
Well, did this sound something like the quote where you said, "I'm not into music per se"?
Yeah, well, that's about it. That was in relation to music and how it functions as a part of media, you know, and the idea of being involved in music just as coming from a media consciousness. But this is all broken down like a thought in meditation, you know. It's like at the very surface of it, it's rock and roll, you know, and being a rock and roll star. And when you look for your motivation, you know, you realize that it's attention, you know. And when you realize that you got the attention, you have to look further than that motivation. What do I do now that I got the attention? You know, what am I supposed to do with it? You know, or who am I supposed to be now that all these people are looking at me? So it just, to me, it goes down just to a lot further levels, just to what I am basically, whether I can play guitar or not, or sing or not, or communicate at all. It just, it more changes what I am and what I think I am and what I want to be, you know. But it has nothing to do with what people normally consider the parameters of rock and roll consciousness.
If music is a map, you know, it's supposed to take us someplace. Where is your music taking us?
Well, it's going to that evolutionary place, that mental, you know, that place of mental evolution, or human evolution. I don't know. The idea is that if I continue to think these things and live this way, you know, and continue to progress and evolve somehow, and bring it into the music, that's where the music will take people. You know, it's along that line of evolution somehow. And, you know, if they're listening to it or into it enough, or are looking for a direction to move, if they're not just satisfied with being one place, you know.
Do you feel superiorly enlightened?
Do you mean in relationship to other people, or what?
Okay.
It depends on how you look at it. I don't know whether I can say that a certain mode of thinking or a certain attitude about life is better than another one, because eventually we're all going to wind up the same place anyway. So it's just, to me, everyone's just perfectly justified living whatever way they want to live, as long as they're satisfied living that way. You know, to live a certain way and to profess a constant dissatisfaction with it without changing it, to me, is a real jerked off kind of outlook. And to me, I don't feel more enlightened or that I know anything more than other people, but it's made my life into something that's more of what I consider an ideal, and more of what I think the average people consider an ideal. You know, it's like I don't have the normal anxiety and frustration and fear of death and all this other stuff that most people go through, just through consciously trying to evolve my consciousness and conquer all the things that I don't consider are necessary to my personality, like fear and anxiety and things like that. And that's just for me and for anybody that thinks that that's where they should be. You know, it's not superior. It's not superior illumination. It's just different illumination.
Do you have any answers or secrets?
No, I guess not. You know, to me, the important thing is to just be something. You know, whether I can translate it into terms that other people can understand is somewhere down the line. But if you come into a position of public prominence, you have to set an example of one kind or another, and I don't have any secrets for anybody, because there were no secrets for me to make myself into anything. I have to stumble over all that shit and fall on my face and suffer all that pain just to evolve to be whatever I want to be. But I know what the direction is, and I know that that's where I want to be, and that's the only secret, is that you have to know You have to make up your mind at a certain point that you're either satisfied or not satisfied, and you're going to move or you're not going to move. But the whole thing is just that people have to be satisfied with themselves, I guess. That's the tip.
That's the tip. Well, this sounds vaguely Eastern.
Vaguely? I guess. It's the thing is, it's Eastern. It's Eastern because Western people can't get next to it, you know. But if Western people could get next to it, it wouldn't be any more Eastern than Western.
Universal?
Yes, it's all the different philosophies are just something that evolved out of human beings in a certain environment, and it's functions for people in that environment, but it functions for people in other environments, you know, if they find it necessary or find that they have to get into it. For me, it's just the West is headed in the same direction anyway. We're using up all the food and everything that's left, all the food and fuel and all the luxuries that we thought we would have forever are just being used up, and the population is climbing, and the crime rate and all the social controls are getting more and more frayed and strained and everything, and eventually the West is going to need it just the way the East needed it, and that's why they developed it, you know.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
I guess, you know, I don't feel at this point I know enough about it to espouse on it, you know, or to recommend the belief. You know, it's just something that makes the belief of it at this point, at least, makes my existence easier. You know, and to me, it's impetus and will and certain mental aspects are what makes your life successful and not successful, and not necessarily your physical surroundings. A lot of people think that the success of their life depends upon the status of their environment and certain physical signs of a certain kind of life. But to me, it's all in the mind, and that's where I spend most of my time.
In your mind.
Right.
I think that's great, and I think a lot of people will spend time in your mind through your music.
I hope so.
Is that it, Anton? Are we running out of tape? I wonder if we have, time for a couple last-minute reflections, and of course I want to know, why do you live in New York as opposed to L.A. or London?
Well, at this point, I'm not committed to New York. In fact, I'm thinking of moving out of New York just because of the same reason that I moved here. At a certain point, I needed the energy. I'd moved to L.A. for a while, and the energy level was just too low there, so I had to move back to New York. But at this point, I've resolved myself and gotten my direction straight enough that it will go whether that energy is there or not. Now, I need a place that's a little bit more peaceful, and not so many crazy things going on to